Good afternoon. How are you today? My day started out nice, and I made a short video about, if you go watch my short, it's about Chicago on Saturday. I guess that would be tomorrow. I didn't look at the date. On Saturday, no questions asked, having a gun buyback. Okay, they've done this before, and people that are FOID card holders, people that are concealed carry holders, we see it a different way. No legal gun carrier is going, there's a reason that people have guns. Good people have guns, right? We know that there are, you put the word out on the street and you're going to have vehicles pulling up, opening up their trunks. And anybody can pretty much get anything they want. I mean, that's just the life of a city. Democrat city. And everybody knows this. And everybody that's been raised in this city or has lived in this city for a period of time, those people that buy those guns that way, they are not going to show up on Saturday and say, hey, I'm turning this in. How much can I get for it? No. Good citizens buying guns for the right reasons, that are actual FOID card holders that know how to use guns for the right reasons. They go to gun stores and they buy them legally. And you can't just walk into a gun store. Excuse me, you can't just walk into a gun store, purchase a gun, and walk out with it. That's not the way it works. There is a holding period for the store to run a background check on you. Now, the last time I went into a store, which was several years ago, not several, about 10 years ago, I want to say it was a 3-day hold. Could have been a 7-day hold. I'm not sure. I haven't been in the city and I haven't bought a gun lately. I haven't bought a gun ever, but my ex bought a gun. In any case, I want to explain something. I am that short. The defense is coming in the comments. And it's, you could see what side of the fence people are on. Politically, you could see it. And it's like, you know, one made a comment about, oh, that's for people for broken guns. Okay, I could see that. And then the next comment was a gem. It's for people that Grandpa's old rifle is in the closet and you were going through belongings and found Grandpa's old rifle. So I had to come back and I said, well, most people would look at that as a great find. An antique rifle? That's something that I would take and lock it up in the gun cabinet in memory of Grandpa, right? Right? But that's just me. I mean, gun collectors would never let that go. If it was Grandpa's, that means it's pretty old. You don't let that go. So they're not going to turn that into the buyback. Well, that person didn't like my answer. So he told me to basically stop watching mainstream media news, get off the computer and go get a life. So I came back and I said, besides this YouTube channel, I have a very nice life. And I don't watch mainstream media news. But you have a blessed day. People that are trying to be nasty, they just hate it when you give a kind heart back, you know. I mean, I got to be a little snobby, but I always end it with, you have a blessed day. Anyway, I want to explain. Okay. For the people in the city that watch my YouTube videos, for anybody that has doubts that I don't know that city and I'm just spewing my mouth off, I can give you a little background history. And this is for the Chicago people. I was born in Marionette Park, 114th and Albany. Marionette Park is right there next to Chicago. It's a little suburb. My father was a volunteer firefighter in Marionette Park. At age 4, we moved to a suburb, a southwest suburb. Okay. In 1975, I left the suburbs and I moved back into the city in the back of the yards. Now, the people that live in Chicago, they're going to know where the back of the yards is. That's the 9th District Police, or not the Police District 9. People like me don't walk around the back of the yards no more. It's gotten really rough. Okay, so in 1975, I moved to the back of the yards. Started out at 43rd and Hermitage, and then moved over to 48th and Paulina. Okay. In 1980, it was getting so rough. And I had kids. I had 3 kids. It was getting so rough that my preteen boy on his skateboard was approached to do gang signs. That's how rough it was getting. So we moved. My father had started to get sick. My father, he retired in Wisconsin, and he was starting to get sick. So the timing was just perfect. You know, the neighborhood's changing. Dad's all alone in Wisconsin, and he's starting to get sick. So in 1990, It was 1990 we moved to Wisconsin. And we left all the hard times behind. In Wisconsin, I didn't have to worry about gang pressure on my boys. I didn't have, all that was left behind. All I had to do, excuse me, was focus on raising my boys and taking care of my dad as he was getting sick. Well, my dad passed in 1992. So I returned back to the suburbs, not inner city. I returned back to the suburbs, the southwest suburbs. In the events of Chicago's public housing being shut down, Cabrini Green and all that, due to one mayor wanting to make that all high class condos and stuff like that, making big changes, all those poor people that lived in that public housing, that was really rough. That was a rough area. But they had to go somewhere, right? They spilled into the suburbs. Well, I'm not racist. But the problem is the kids that were raised in there, now I'm not talking the parents, I'm talking the kids. The kids that are raised in there, because they lived lower income level, they found bad ways to make the money. Okay, so now they're in the suburbs. Habits don't change. You bring your problems with you. So, and at the time, my youngest was in high school, right? And for those that think I don't know the city well enough, he went to Argo High School, which is right outside the boundary there. Then after that, he was having a lot of problems, a lot of problems. Argo High School is a huge high school. And I'm going to tell you what, they got some really good programs there. My son really, until he had to leave the building, he got into some really good programs, that it was really nice. So anyway, in 2003, it was getting too rough. It was really getting too rough. So we decided to move to West Central Illinois. Now, I've told you in previous videos, that's a whole cultural change. When you leave a city and suburbs, and these suburbs are all surrounding the city that I lived in. You're talking Worth, Justice, Burbank, Bridgeview. And you leave that to go 230 miles away. It's very rural, very small towns, and life is different. Life is very different. When you come here, there's a whole different reason for guns. When I first moved here in 2003, Coming into town, you pass the high school. On the back of the pickup trucks, students' pickup trucks, there would be a rifle hanging on the outside across the rear window of the cab of the pickup truck. There'd be a rifle hanging there. They don't do that now, but that's how it was then. Whole different culture. It's a way of life here. It's a way of life all the way down to the southern tip of Illinois. Hunting is not a recreation here. Hunting is an essential way of living. You don't hunt with a slingshot. That's why the people outside of the city, all the way to the southern tip of Illinois, they're very upset about the new gun laws trying to be shoved in here. Everybody calls them assault weapons. No, it's very customary to take a semi-automatic out and go deer hunting, to go squirrel shooting. Well, you don't use it. You use a different gun for squirrels, but these are the things people do. I used to work with a girl before I retired. I used to work with a girl who used to talk about, they get 4 deer tags when they go buy their license for the season. They get 4 deer tags. You get, I think it is 3 does and a buck tag on a deer. Hunters, you'll know what I'm talking about. Anyway, she used to say, she'd come to work and she'd say what her husband got, and she always had a rule with him. Don't you dare go for that trophy buck until you bring me home 3 does. And I says, why are you telling him that? She goes, because you don't eat, the buck meat is not, the flavor is a lot different than does. Well, that makes sense. They got testosterone in the meat and stuff like that. Anyway, the does, she wanted her 3 does because they would process that food, put it in the freezer. And that was the majority of what they ate through the wintertime. And she depended on that for groceries. That to her, that was like it would be for me to buy a cow and have it butchered, packaged, and put in my freezer. Now, do I eat venison? No. I think of Bambi, Thank you, Chicago, for putting that in my head. I'm eating Bambi. But over here, venison it's life. People depend on it to eat. People also eat squirrel. They do. And some go as far as raccoon, possum. Rabbits is a big one. So people have a whole different way of looking at guns here. That's why there's so much, you hear about the fighting about guns on the news. Because here it's essential. I came across a story that I'll give you a prime example of a Democrat city. Okay. Headline: California man who shot 2 kindergartners had a lengthy criminal history, mental health issues. Okay. Keyword: California, deep blue state, Illinois, deep blue state, strong gun laws in California, strong gun laws here. How's their background checks? I don't know. I don't live in California. But I do know that any person that wants to purchase a gun, every single time you go through a background check. I went with my ex to go to, oh, what was the name of that store? It was some hunting store. It wasn't Carbella's. It's by me. Anyway, it was one of those big chain stores. Even though he had a current void card, he had to go through a background check and could not pick up the gun right away. And we also used to go to an old military store, and you could buy guns and rifles there. Same thing happened there. And that guy, the owner of that store, he asked me, he said, "Do you have a FOID card?" And at the time I didn't. And I said, "No, I don't." He goes, "You really need to get one. I've got an application here." He said, "I want you to fill it out." I said, "Why do I need one? I'm not the one buying the gun, and I don't like guns." And he's like, "You live with him?" I says, "Yeah." And he says, "If he's not home and for some reason law enforcement has to get in your house and sees that you're in possession of those guns and you don't have the FOID card," he says, "you're going to get arrested for illegal possession." I said, "Even though they're not mine, I'm just living in the same house." He goes, "That's right. If they want to get technical enough, they can do that." First of all, I don't know why law enforcement would bust in my house and want to inspect, but I've never given anybody reason to do that. But anyway, that scared me. When that guy said that that could happen, you know, because my ex was he had a locked gun cabinet right there in the bedroom with a gun collection of rifles. And I'm like, I guess in a way it made sense. If he wasn't home, that does make me responsible for those guns. And that's the part that it made sense. Even though I don't touch them, I don't like them, don't shoot them, don't hunt, they're in our home. So I filled out the application and I got a FOID card. And I'm legal to purchase a gun and have them in my home. I don't, but I'm just saying, we have a holding period before you can actually go and pick that gun up. I don't know what California has. Second thing, they got no cash bail. Doesn't that sound familiar, Chicago? I mean, you literally can commit a heinous crime and before court get back out on the street and like this man shot 2 kindergartners, lengthy criminal history and mental health issues. What is the rules of the state? Don't take away a Second Amendment right. The right to bear arms away from good people, not people that are waiting for a court date that murdered 2 little children that had a criminal history and mental health issues. First of all, there's a law in Illinois, pretty sure it's still in effect, that if you have had any mental health treatment or medication, you are not allowed to purchase or have a FOID card for 5 years. You have to wait after an incident. You have to wait, I think, unless they changed it. Now, this is when I got my FOID card. If you got any mental health issues or have been treated or on medication, you can't go buy a gun. Now, in an alley in the city, you could probably put word out, but that's not a legal gun owner. Okay. So I just wanted to clear up this issue about trying to get guns off the streets and the people that have guns. There's a, not only as a food source, but for self-defense. I mean, over here, we self-defense, you know, we got fox running around here. If you've got, you know, like a small homestead farm or like these big farmers, fox, coyotes, there are big black cats out there. We've heard them. There's been reports. Yeah, you better have a gun and a good one so that your herd or your chickens or your sheep, goats stay safe. Keep in mind, we're all in the same state, different cultures, but in the same state. So what buybacks and gun laws need to be enforced by choice. Certain people need to be enforced in a big city full of crime versus even 60 miles out of that city. There are hunters. There's a different way of being. So Before somebody goes and watches that short and gets all their feathers ruffled, come listen to the other side of the story. People need to eat. They hunt with rifles. People need to protect their herd, their home. What would you do if your child was out playing in the backyard and all of a sudden a coyote came running out of the bush? Be a good idea to have a gun on you, wouldn't it? It happens a lot where I live. So again, before you jump on me, because I was talking about the buyback and it presenting to be a gun grab, because no criminal, no gangbanger, no cartel is going to walk up to them and say, hey, will you buy my gun? The target is on the wrong people. Good citizens with good intent. They're not going to, they got no reason to be interested in selling their gun for a buyback. If you've got a good gun and you need money, you can go sell it at a gun shop. There was a sale of a gun between two individuals. They actually went to the sheriff's department. I'm selling my gun to this individual. The sheriff's department held the gun, did a research, and then the buyer got to pick it up. No, George didn't sell it to Sam and interchange hands right away. No, people don't sell guns like that. Not good people. Not people in this area. Why would they jeopardize their point card? That would be like taking food away from their table. All right, I just wanted to clear that up before anybody else jumped on my throat for not knowing what I'm talking about and not seeing what I see it to be as. So comments are welcome. Please try not to get too nasty about it. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate the time you spend with me. Please like, subscribe, please, and share with your friends. You have a wonderful day. God bless.